Hello, everybody! Welcome to another Sunday Funday, and like I told you all, yes, we are here to talk about one of the Disney Plus Marvel cinematic universe. I was trying to think, why is there a C? Oh, yeah, cinematic. It's been a long, long day. But yeah, we're here to talk about one of the Marvel Cinematic Universe shows, though, strange enough, we're not talking about the first one. Though, just to let y'all know, yes, we're going to get to WandaVision eventually. We're going to give our opinions about that. But we're going to talk about probably I wouldn't say it's the more divisive of the two series so far it's been released. It's the one that is the most current. And that, of course, is Falcon and the Winter Soldier.
We look damn good, though.
Now, I think I should lead us off on this, because just to put it this way, I am the bigger, not just Marvel fan, but also comic book fan, and also I actually kind of enjoyed enjoy Captain America, to put it nicely.
Translation, he's the bigger nerd.
And not only that, but there's a lot of stuff that I'm going to go ahead and admit that if you do know a little bit about the comic books, you're not going to be super surprised. Though, we're not going to break this down by episode, because that's just going to take too damn long. And we literally have watched the entire series already. And I will say, if y'all ever do, if somebody decides, oh, should I watch this or not, the series is actually pretty easy to binge in a lot of ways, just because it's like 6 episodes long.
And I have a feeling stuff that's brought up on the show is going to be brought up later in the movies. I have a feeling.
Yeah, this is to really quickly talk about something that doesn't have anything to do specifically with Falcon and Winter Soldier, but just to talk about the Disney Plus shows themselves so far. At least from what we know with WandaVision and also with this. It appears that these are going to be a lot more closely tied together with the Marvel Cinematic Universe than Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., Inhumans, anything else has so far. In fact, I'd say Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. had so little to do with the actual MCU, it was actually kind of scary.
Yeah, just the first couple seasons, then it's like, this is too difficult, just forget it, just do our own thing.
Yeah, and even then, everybody just kind of ignored them because a lot of their stuff was
Yeah.
a little weird, to put it nicely.
Mm-hmm.
But hey, that's not a bad thing. That's always been the issue I've actually had with DC. I may not be the biggest Arrowverse fan or anything like that, but it always struck me as odd that they were going to have so many pretty much parallel universes running against each other. Sure, they kind of made a nod to it during the Crisis on Infinite Earths thing, during the big crossover they had, because they had Ezra Miller as his, DCEU Flash meeting up with the boring Barry Allen that they happen to have on the television series. How have they made it through, what is this, 8 seasons now? With that boring ass guy.
They're on their 7th season.
God, he is staring at a floor. He's just so dull. But to be fair, that's Barry Allen. I'm not going to hit on the actor too much. He's an okay actor. He's better than Tom Welling, which is not saying a whole lot. He's better than Stephen Amell.
Okay, about the Tom Welling dig, y'all, just ignore him. He's jealous. That's one of my future ex-hubbies.
He's me and him share about the same belt class nowadays. I admit I'm a fat guy. Tom Welling has gotten to be a huge guy.
I keep telling you, you're fluffy.
Well, so is Tom Welling nowadays. Look, he got lost in a Twinkie factory and fucking ate his way out. Sorry, Tom. I know you're 40-something, nearly 50 years old, or you're over 50.
Yeah, he's like 41, I think.
He needs to do some sit-ups. And he needs to go run track.
He no longer plays Superman, so he no longer has that pressure of having that perfect body on him, and I don't blame him for just kind of letting himself go a little bit.
A little bit?
Well, I mean, have you seen Dean Cain? He let himself go just a little bit.
Well, Dean Cain, to be fair, it's because he's Dean Cain. What else has he fucking been doing? But neither here nor there. But yeah, I've always said it's like if you're gonna have these shows are supposed to be near the similar parts of your universe, just tie them together. Especially with stuff like with Daredevil, I always had issues with like, the Netflix shows are supposed to be dealing with the Marvels stuff, and at best they minorly mentioned stuff. It felt more like the Agents of Shield, especially once you got closer to the end of Luke Cage, which we still haven't finished. I'm gonna fully admit to y'all, I don't give a fuck with that. And I'm fine with if they decide to retcon that a little bit and just have Charlie Cox's Daredevil come up. But that's here nor there right now. But we need to actually talk about Falcon and the Winter Soldier. And I'm going to quickly give a brief summary of how I think of the series. Meh. I give it a wildly... It was a show. Alright, so I'm going to first touch on one thing. And warning, there's going to be spoilers abound. There is some interesting stuff this actually brings up. Like it brings up more about Baron Zemo. Daniel Brühl reprises the same character. He is still as fantastically awesome as he was in Civil War.
Somehow charming, yet a despicable bastard for like his methods.
And I honestly, give me a show with him. Give me all of it. I know they're going to eventually. Gonna touch on that later on. I'll try to remember to. And then there's also Wyatt Russell, the guy who plays John Walker, who of course we know is going to be U.S. agent, and they revealed that at the end of the series. He's just spoiler. But he's supposed to be the new Captain America because they're trying to replace Captain America. Now, there are a few weird things with that doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Like, he doesn't have the super soldier serum or anything beforehand. And I know that it's supposed to be because, the super soldier serum isn't known or anything like that. But it seems like this is the same. But then we learn that there has been like super soldier serum being created behind the scenes and all that. It's like, and also you learn that there actually was another super soldier serum that was given to a black guy. Gonna get into that issue here in a bit. Not that it's an issue. It's just it's a problem. This
problem with continuity.
And that's not really continuity, but it's what the writers decided to do that doesn't make a whole lot of sense.
What do you mean in terms of continuity from Captain America: The First Avenger?
Yes and no.
I mean, it's kind of plausible. At the same time, it's like, well, why wasn't this mentioned?
Because I'd make it too damn easy.
Well, I mean, mentioned that there were more serum that was created. That seemed like the one that went into Steve Rogers was the only one. That's what it made it seem like. I mean, mind you, it's been a while since I've watched that movie.
That was supposed to have been the original idea, but then they have retconned that a lot throughout the comic books, and it's kind of the issue is they're trying to follow some of the comic books continuity, and trying to follow Captain America's continuity is not always the brightest thing to do, just because it gets really fucking weird. He turns into a werewolf for a while. But here's the thing, that's actually really good comic books there. Captain America's a werewolf. They are really fun. It's like, how?
I think it's well known at this point that comic books are weird.
Yep. So, yeah, I always thought it was weird that they decided, we're going to have, this guy be Captain America, but he's just going to have... Pretty much he's going to have he's pretty much an army ranger and all that. Him and his one buddy, it's like, okay, y'all just pretty much stuck him in a suit, but you gave him, like, nothing else. It's weird that they want him to be Captain America, but they have no idea.
Because he's, like, decorated, and he's got this charm that if you put him in front of the camera, in front of reporters, he can easily charm them, and it's like, oh, hey, you're America. It's like, I am, all American guy here.
Yeah. He is, like, a lot of people really gave this actor a lot of shit, and I'm just going to throw it out there. He is a fantastic John Walker. He is a despicable, snot-nosed asshole that you don't like a whole lot of times, but you sometimes do actually give a shit for him for a little bit. And you're like, you're a dick, but I kind of get it. It's weird to describe it. John Walker was never a very good character in the comic books. It was kind of people's issue with him whenever he first was tried to be used as Captain America's replacement. Yes, that actually did happen in comic books. So, hey, they did stick that much to the comic books, which I don't really care if they stick to comic books 100%. But here, they use some of the later permish stuff of John Walker where, yeah, he can be a little brash. He sometimes will jump into situations a little too quickly, and sometimes will end up hurting himself because of it. But you may not like him, but you're fine with seeing him at least finally succeed if it's for the right reason. Now, also, of course, we're forgetting the two supporting characters because there's a main character, unfortunately, that takes over everything. And that, of course, is Falcon and Winter Soldier. And I'm going to explain why I'm calling them supporting characters here in a bit. Now, Sebastian Stan and I forgot his name now. Guy who plays Falcon. What's his name? I have it right here. Boom.
I'm drawing a blank too.
Anthony Mackie. God, yeah, these guys are still awesome together. Their banter is still funny.
Nice little callback to what was it?
Civil War.
Yeah, Civil War. What movie you seen up? No.
They have great chemistry together. I want to see them living together as roommates, trying to get along and not doing it.
Yeah, they have this love-hate bromance going on. It's like I live for it.
Yeah, and it's fun to watch it the entire time.
Especially when Winter Soldier meets Falcon's sister. And they kind of have a little bit of chemistry going on. And he's like, no, don't be flirting with my sister. No.
Now, I will also throw out, talking about the Falcon's character, Sam Wilson. His sister, it's not she's bad or anything. She's...
Just that whole storyline, it's hard to really care about. It just kind of drags everything down.
Yeah, she's... Just ultimately, like, the whole time while it was happening, I couldn't give a fuck less about it. I was like, oh, it's happening. I'm like... Because there's supposed to be a big issue with... Because, of course, Sam was blipped away. And they tried... And she's like, well, I've been having to do all this stuff. It's like... Lady, you're kind of being an asshole in this regard. What the fuck do you want him to do for 5 years? It's like, okay.
Yeah, while he was blipped, she was having to take care of their family business.
Mm-hmm.
And they have a boat that just does not run.
It's falling apart and all
like
this stuff.
So much going on with it. It's like, okay, just be easier and probably more financially prudent to just sell it.
Yeah, because they're trying to also keep the house, which is their mother and father's house, and all this stuff. It's family drama that I don't care about, guys. I don't care. It'd be like if in Avengers 2, the bit where you see Hawkeye's family, you don't just get introduced to his family. You also have to learn about how much money he needs to make because they're going to lose the family farm. Then we have to watch them have a hot dog eating contest that somehow keeps the farm going. But spoilers, the money is stolen by a thief that they have to figure out how to get without using the powers of the Avengers. I don't care. I do not care. Every time that story was going on, I'm like, I like the actress. And his nephews seem cool and really sweet kids. I don't give a fuck.
I'm sympathetic to their plight and everything, but it's like, okay, what does this have to do with the overall story? I think it does have a little bit of a payoff, but not enough to justify, like, all the screen time that was spent on this whole subplot.
Yeah. But yeah, because ultimately, realistically, here's another issue that the show has. The main character is this
The
freaking freckled super soldier called Carly. And her big thing is she's part of this, let's just call them what they are, Antifa, that believe that it's okay that, well, we're fighting because we weren't blipped away and we had these homes, but our people were blipped back. Now they want their homes back. Yeah, your point, lady.
Yeah, she and all these other people.
Terrorists. Let's call them what they are. They're terrorists.
Yeah, they employ very terroristic tactics, and it's like, oh no, we're not terrorists, we're the good guys here. It's like, I don't care how just your cause is. You go around blowing up buildings with people still in them. That makes you the bad guys.
Mm-hmm. Purposely killing people, purposely causing damage. It's like, no, I don't care how y'all wish to try and spin this. Y'all are...
Yeah, their big cause is one world, one people, they call it. Just because apparently during the 5-year blip, there were like no borders. Everyone was, all getting along. They were united by a common tragedy. It's like, okay, I get that. Kind of like 9/11 on a global scale. But it's like now with everyone back, everything's kind of going back to the way it used to be with borders and all these people getting displaced because of people from the blip coming back.
And taking back their homes and stuff. And they're like, well, how did... Yeah, you took their homes while they were dead, but they weren't dead.
Yeah, while y'all thought that they were gone for good.
Yeah.
It's like, it's a frustrating situation on all sides. I get it. But, it's like, it was hard to care about her cause. Like, okay, y'all are not really giving me much to go on, Marvel. All you were telling was like, one people, one world, and, oh, we want a world without borders, and, we're angry and frustrated that we were displaced, and everything. It's like, okay, well, give me more to go on. It's like, why do you want this whole, like, united world? Like, how do you think this is going to work?
Yeah, like, all they are is like, oh, well, it works because we say it works. Again, Antifa.
And if you're not with them, you are against them.
Hey, look, Antifa. And that's another issue, this fucking... That is the biggest issue with this entire fucking series. First off, whoever wrote this, they love Antifa. Because they really want us to sympathize with Carly. And here's the biggest problem. I don't care for her. One, she is a fucking nothing character.
She's this teenager who thinks she knows it all, and...
Yeah, she sounds exactly how you would think somebody would write a teenager back in the 90s. He's like, he purposely be like, well, you don't get me, Dad.
It's like this revolutionary, teenager who thinks, oh, we need to act now. It's like, sit down, shut up. You don't have enough life experience to, do what you're doing. To act like you're acting.
Yeah, and just ultimately, like, constantly, because a lot of the story revolves around her. Mm-hmm. And it all can be so easily fucking taken care of with a bullet. That's all that's needed here. And
they have super strength thanks to the super serum.
Because somehow that was able to be gotten a hold of. Now, we did understand that, yes, there was some, that Hydra was eventually able to create some, because that's how Bucky was able to not just have prolonged life, but also now enhanced strength and all this fun stuff. Mm-hmm. It's like, okay, that's fine. It's cool. Understandable. But now there was this other guy who's just been cranking out super soldier serum. So now there's like 7 or 8 of these assholes.
Yeah, commissioned by the power broker.
Yeah, and that is actually a thing that actually happens within Marvel and everything, and it's a whole, whenever you get dealing with their espionage shit. But again, it's one of these things like all these people have the same powers, which is the most uninteresting thing.
I would say so boring.
It brings me right back to Iron Man 3. And guess what? Iron Man 3 is the worst MCU movie. It's not a terrible movie. It's still...
It's the weakest.
Yeah, but it's easily the weakest and the most skippable of all the films. It's like, okay, like in that, they all have fire powers. Cool, so they're all Spyro now. In this, they all are just mini Captain Americas, but it also still doesn't make sense because Super Soldier Serum doesn't seem to work in the same way how it did with Steve Rogers. Like, Steve Rogers was this little, scrawny, nothing guy who got turned into... Carly is still the size of my index finger, but she's able to punch a dude in the chest and kill him. And again, here is the one thing that I constantly am like, what the fuck, show? Guns. Where did all the guns go? Why do these people not have guns? Shoot the motherfuckers. Sure, they have enhanced strength and enhanced vision and everything. Steve Rogers wasn't like Hulk levels of fast and strong. He was enhanced for a human. He was pretty much the most powerful and strongest, fastest and all that a human could be. Peak. He wasn't beyond.
He was not a superhuman, but like the perfect human.
Yeah. It's what it turned him into. And it's like, okay, so one, why could you all not have bothered to get these people to get a little bulked up or something? Mm-hmm. Or two...
Or give them separate powers.
Yeah, have it not be like a super soldier serum, but a well, you don't call it metahuman, but call it a superhuman serum. It gives them different random powers. It doesn't...
Yeah, it just depends on their like genetic makeup, like what they be more predisposed to, kind of like the X-Men.
Yeah,
way.
Like maybe one of them has sort of super strength, but other different things. Maybe no one has the ability to like shoot laser beams out of their eyes, or no one's psionic,
or set things on fire, or create like windstorms, like or something. Just
magic jump cut. Sorry, somebody signed
$3.
Yeah.
Just.
But yeah, I didn't get why they didn't just give them all different powers. One, whenever they put on this stupid mask thing that's never explained why they're putting masks on, it's like, who cares? You look like every generic schmo ever. But, give them all these unique, distinct powers. Maybe make Carly, her power is she is able to influence people's minds or something. Or who knows what. Anything like that. Give us something to go on. Instead, no, they're all just Captain Americas without Captain America's charm or memorability. Like, I cannot remember Carly, except for the fact she is such the center focus of this entire series. And honestly, I thought it was going to be Zemo the entire time. Mm-hmm. Like, he broke out and he was able to, he's starting to cause carnage and everything. Oh, cool. I'm looking forward to that. He was a cool villain. No, we have this uninteresting child who is pretty much Antifa personified. It's an idiot that can't understand even what they actually are trying to ask for and doesn't even know how to get to this utopia that they want.
Yeah, Marvel had wanted to make her sympathetic. Like, okay, I'd be fine with having a sympathetic villain. They've done it before, but they weren't really giving us anything to go on. Or it was like her or her cause, or it's like, okay, all I'm hearing is that y'all are angry and frustrated.
Yeah. Like, there was different episodes that we kind of talked about afterwards, and we're like, alright, well, they could have redone this, and this would have been better. Did this. Like, at one point, she purposely sets a bomb off whenever these other guys are like, oh, well, we stole all this stuff from them, so we don't have to worry about this. Again, it's so bland in how it describes everything, and so unconcerned with the actual details of things. It's like, what the fuck they just do? I think they stole medical supplies, but...
Yeah, it's like a bunch of stuff that, all the people that were being displaced, that they were actually needing, that they were just kind of holding up in these warehouses or something.
Yeah, and they had beaten up these guys and left them there, and then she purposely sets off a bomb, and her followers are like, oh, and she's like,
well, violence is the only language these people speak. So the only thing they understand. It's like,
and it's
how
like,
does that make you any better than them then?
it's like, so wait a second, about to jump cut. I told myself to wait for that. But yeah, give us. But yeah, when she detonates this bomb and she says like, oh, it's all violence and everything, Harry said, so wait a second. So they had been calling you a terrorist, even though most you've been doing is bank robbing in the most dangerous sense and everything.
Mm-hmm. They were stealing supplies and trying to act like, Robin Hood, stealing
From the rich and giving to the poor.
Yeah, stealing supplies and giving them to the poor.
Yeah, but now you are actively killing people. And they even says like, yeah, they actually killed AIDS workers. People work on AIDS, but
people that work
give aid.
I would say to give aid.
Like nurses and stuff like that, doctors. Mm. It's like, okay, so your followers see this and they're just cool with it.
So I would say, you are proving the other side right. You are proving their point for them.
Yeah. And then it's like, okay, so why not make it to where maybe she didn't understand that was going to happen or anything like that. Maybe, one of their powers accidentally kind of goes crazy and it hits that. And it's kind of a sign of this superhuman serum that they were given was, a little volatile. And it's kind of making them not as fully in control as she thought they were. It's like, and if she shows a bit of remorse during that, I can then sympathize with her more. I can maybe try to understand her more. Not only that, but also here's the other thing. I need to understand what the fuck she's fighting for. I don't know one world, one peoples. Said like, 5 billion times, and it's like...
Yeah, it's like, well, what does that entail? It's like, y'all are not giving us anything but, a world without borders. Like, okay, how do you think that's going to be accomplished? Like...
It's the same way Antifa believes everything. Through communism. Through just hardline control everything. We control it all. Hardline communism is the way of the future. Fucking morons. Yeah. And it's like, oh God, this show is stupid at times. Mm-hmm. And that's the other issue is like anything revolving around the main character, Carly, is bad. Like, it's aggressively bad.
Yeah, I'll say I cared more about Falcon's sister and that whole storyline, them trying to keep the family business afloat and everything. I care more about that. I care more about Baron Zemo. I cared more about this one black super soldier.
Isaiah Bradley, I believe was his name.
Yeah, I think so too. Played by Martian Manhunter from the Justice League cartoon.
Yeah, voiced him, of course.
Yeah, Carl Lumley.
Yeah. And he turns out that he was jailed and experimented on and stuff like that.
Basically, they kept him hidden because they didn't want it to get out. It's like, oh, a black man was able to endure the super soldier serum and
was able to become a super soldier. And that's the other thing this story tries to get into. It tries to get into race relations. Mm-hmm. And it deals with it with all the subtlety of a sledgehammer to your testicles. There is at one point when Sam and... I keep forgetting Bucky's name. I'm just going to call him Bucky. Whenever they're talking to each other in Baltimore, which is another thing I'm like, where these two white cops come accosting Sam, sir, is he, or is like, are you talking to him? And it's like,
yeah, they're asking Bucky's like, is this man bothering you? And Bucky's like, no, dude. Like,
yeah, and it's this, what, you would expect this in a shitty Saturday, like, public thing of saying, it's like, look, white guys, y'all need to quit being racist. Oh my God, is this so on the nose? I could not get any closer if it was a booger.
Something straight out of like overly exaggerated cartoon, or maybe something depicting like the 60s and 70s, maybe kind of exaggerated. It's like, it's really like,
Now, I'm going to be the first one to say, unfortunately, I do know that black people are accosted by cops a little bit more aggressively sometimes, quite often, which is bad. That should not happen. In Baltimore, I call that a hearty dose of horse shit. Let's see. Baltimore is mostly black people. Let's admit it. So I would find it kind of, contrary that they're going to constantly just go around and, do some horse shit like that. Now, if they're in Chicago, oh yeah, because they work for the biggest crime boss there is, Lori Lightfoot. I think that's her name. But I mean, I'm not saying the cops are all good, but why is this here? This doesn't add anything to the story except for, look, black guys have it hard. It's all it says. It's just as basic and as bereft of actual explanations as the shit with Carly. And it's... I hate to be that guy. It's like, this feels like people who tried to write a very pro Black Lives Matter, Antifa stuff, and missed the point. And did not understand what they were trying to say.
yeah, Sam at the end makes this big speech telling these politicians, like, y'all need to do better.
Yeah.
It's like, Carly had her methods that I don't agree with, but she has a point, and y'all need to do better for the people of this planet. And pretty much trying to argue in favor of, like, one world, one people. But not really offering up any solutions, any plausible ideas. He's like, just, figure it out. Like, do it.
He does at least say, it's like, not only does he not agree with her solutions, but he kind of points out, it's like, she was able to get the followers she had. No matter of fact, her position is not a position. It's just a statement that doesn't have any methods to get there.
Yeah.
It's like, hey, it's AOC. But he kind of points out, it's like you want to sit here and label her a terrorist, and yes, she was being a terrorist, but you are adding fuel to her fire by doing just what she is complaining about. It's like, you have to do better by everybody. There's a lot that's way too on the nose, which is a big problem with this series. There is stuff talking about, like, the policing of the world at different times that wants to touch upon, but yet it's okay that the Wakandans just go around wherever they want to, which I'm cool with that, but you can't say that shit right after we just saw the Wakandans go after and try and capture Zemo. The fuck? Hello? Let's connect these two.
Who has been broken out of prison.
Yeah. And I'm cool with them trying to go after Zemo, and shit like that, but they're sitting there like, oh, well, because John Walker ends up killing one of the terrorists, literally beating him to death with his shield. He should
in front of everybody. Like, people get it on video, and it's like, scandal.
Yeah, though originally, I'm going to go ahead and clear this up. Those who have seen any of the original spoilers about this, a lot of people are like, oh, well, this is showing he was going crazy. No, it wasn't that he was going crazy, because right before that, his best friend, one of the guys who he earned the Medal of Honors with, just got killed in front of him. That's not crazy. Let's get fucking pissed.
Yeah, and I don't blame him, but at the same time, it shows that he's not ready to take up the mantle of Captain America if he's not willing to put aside his own personal feelings and his own personal vengeance
for the betterment of everybody.
Yes.
Yeah, and it's like, okay, that's a good thing there. And it's like, that's one of the more smartly written things. I'm like, okay, that's a good way to show it. You still, though, I think the show didn't realize, like, I don't hate John Walker because of this. It's like, I do agree, he shouldn't be Captain America. He should be U.S. agent.
Yeah, I'm not sure I ever hated him. I disliked him severely. It's like, okay, you do not deserve to take up this mantle, so F off. Just, step up, Missy.
But I'm cool with him, wanting to, be a guy who's trying to do better for everybody. I wasn't against that idea.
Yeah, like, the show made him more sympathetic than Carly. Like,
and I think that was wholly unintentional,
yeah,
too.
it's like he's just trying the best he can. Like, he's got this big weight of, Steve Rogers on his shoulders to do really awesome like Steve did.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just, it's like there's only so much that a person can handle, especially if they're not of that temperament.
Yeah, and that would have been one thing if that was maybe the basis of the show. Like, if it wanted to really talk about something like that, deal with John Walker. And I don't think they did a bad thing with John Walker, but if they really wanted to go with more of, all right, what takes somebody to be Captain America? Like, that's supposed to be the whole thing that Sam goes through. We don't see that really growth. He's just...
Yeah, it's supposed to be all about Sam taking up the mantle of Captain America and him just like, okay, well, I don't really feel worthy, so I'm just going to, donate this to a museum, just kind of retire it, and then the government turns around, surprise, surprise, stabs him right in the fucking back, and it's like, oh, here's our new Captain America.
Yep.
And then they end up turning on, like, the new Captain America just because of his vengeance. Like, okay, yes, he shouldn't have done that. He doesn't deserve that mantle, but same time, it's like, they kind of did him dirty with that.
Yeah. They wanted to blame him for being put in a terrible situation. It's something that, again, it doesn't ever the show never wants to deal with that. It just wants to say, like, oh, well, vengeance is bad if you're doing it for the wrong reasons, it seems to be. And it's like, well, what are the right reasons? Well, it doesn't want to answer that question either.
Yeah.
And ultimately, it's like, I will say, it's not that I hate the show, even though I don't give a shit about Carly. Like, she's just not a villain.
It had potential.
Yeah.
Is a thing.
Just... when it's good, it's really good.
Like, with the bromance between Sam and Bucky.
Yeah. Almost 90% of the stuff with Zemo is fucking cool.
Mm-hmm.
You love Zemo.
Or like, okay, got my eye at you, I don't trust you. And he's like, oh, just kind of relax, just, feel free to trust me at any time.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll just, sneak out the back, don't mind me. It's like, that's why we don't trust you.
Yeah, I actually like what they did with John Walker. I think there's stuff they could have improved upon. But I actually generally liked it by the end of it all. I didn't hate it as much as, some things were not done as well as they could be. But just, when the show is bad, it's not unwatchable. All the stuff with this, that's their issue. Carly is not in the comic books. Not saying that every character has to be from the comic books. It's okay to give us an original character or two. But...
make her compelling, at least.
Yeah, either write her very good, or give me an actual character from the fucking comic books I can try and get behind. If you want to have a stupid reason, have her being controlled by Faustus. Somehow he was a guy who worked for Hydra and was able to mind control people. Don't ask me how. And he also was technically he possessed people's bodies as well. Faustus got weird.
Alrighty.
Or what would have been a lot better if you wanted this evil group or anything, have them being led by, technically the most on-the-nose person of it, Hate Monger. Have it being led by a very well-known Captain America villain who depends on which interpretation you wish to go with, but he's able to actually compel hate into people. He's able to turn their darkest feelings outwards. It's a story that they did in the 90s and the late 80s that was a little on the nose, dealing with race relations and all that. Marvel hasn't always been the best in terms of trying to portray that. But have that kind of a character present as the antagonist. Otherwise, we have this antagonist that you have to build from the ground up. Does not have anything new except for what you are going to inject. There's no backstory, no nothing. And you don't give us good explanation for what their actual cause is. You don't give us how they believe it's actually going to happen. Like, they make a big deal near the end, like, oh, they're going to kill all these people who are part of this group that's trying to figure out how to dole out everything. It's like, how's that going to fix anything? That's going to make things 10 times worse. Sure, other people can do it, but that's the thing. They're going to have to wait for that. And, stupid election shit's going to happen. Look how Canada's doing their shit now with wanting to delay elections just because of the pandemic. It's like, you're going to sit here and you're going to eliminate more people who are in power, so that way those who are already in power beforehand are going to stay more in power and have less rivals. How are you this stupid, lady? Yeah, it's, like I said, anything dealing with Carly, you just instantly...
I wanted to kind of fast forward. It's like, it's just not compelling.
Yeah.
And they make a big deal at the beginning of the series that she loses this mother figure. Well, this lady who's kind of a mother figure to a lot of people. Danya or Mama Danya or whatever. And it's like, okay, I don't care. It's like, y'all have not really introduced me to this character or even give me a reason why Carly cares. I mean, they've explained. It's like, oh, well, she was there for me when no one else was. Like, okay, but I still don't feel that connection between you two.
Yeah.
Especially before the lady dies.
Give us a 2-minute flashback sequence. Give us a little 1/7 of an episode that's showing her and Carly interacting during the blip. Give us something. We can cut out all the shit with Sam's sister. It ultimately adds 0 to the main story. So why is it here? It's not good character development or anything. So I don't know why it's got to be there. I just jump cut again.
Number 3.
Sorry. Just getting napkins.
Our furry toddler just...
He's on the prowl right now, so I guess we need to wrap this up.
He's bored, I think.
Yeah.
It's like, y'all are not paying attention to me, and I want to play with me.
Mm-hmm. But yeah,
But yeah, supposedly the whole reason why Carly is doing all this is because of Mama Danya.
Yeah, and her memory, and it's like, okay, well, was she like a,
Was she like the second coming of Mother Teresa? Like,
yeah, or not only that, but it's like, was she like, Yasser Arafat? I mean, Muammar Gaddafi? I mean, how was she? That you're like, well, what she totally would want, killing people. Perfect.
It was like, she is already sick by the time the show starts, and very shortly, within like an episode or two, dies.
Yeah.
Despite the fact that Carly is desperate to get medical supplies for her.
Oh, she dies the episode she is introduced.
Yeah.
Magic jump cut.
Number
Sorry.
4.
I'm pretty sure you heard a little tapping. Somebody has decided to get something else and tap it against our coffee table. Yeah, just... Ultimately, the show is not a complete and utter, like, train wreck, even though it kind of seems like that. It's more that it's very uneven.
Mm.
Like I said, when it's good, it's fantastically good. But when it's bad, it's nigh unwatchable. It's a big pile of...
Yeah, I cared more about what's going on with Sharon Carter because she makes a return. I cared more about what's going on with her than with Carly.
Yeah, it turns out Sharon Carter's a bad guy now. Just spoiler. Mm-hmm. But to be fair, we're kind of spoiling the crap out of this anyway.
Mm-hmm.
And again, some of it doesn't make 100% sense, but that's Marvel espionage stuff. It doesn't always make sense. Mm-hmm. Oh, well, if you were to give this, though, as an overall, like, grade...
I was afraid you're going to ask me for a score. It's like, I don't know. I don't think that I can score this,
I was like, you don't know what you would give it as an overall score?
No, I mean, I just... Like I said, when it's good, it's really good. And when it was bad, it's like, ugh.
It was fast forward and get me to something else.
Like, get us back to Zemo. Get us back. Hell, get us back to John Walker.
Hell, get me back to watching Sam take a dump. I think I'll be more interested in that.
Yeah, it has so much potential. And part of the problem was the villains, like, I just could not care about her or her cause. Like, y'all not giving me anything to go on. And also, a lot of it, I think, was retreading, like, Civil War.
Ooh, I just thought of something that would have been really, really cool.
Uh-oh.
Let this be the introduction of mutants. Let Carly be a mutant. That would have been so much more interesting. Have her be like a part of the Morlocks or anything like that. Marvel, why do I gotta rewrite shit for y'all? I gotta do it for DC.
But, yeah, just
Well,
a waste of potential.
you can't give it a score. I think I can, though. This is a 6. I almost want to give this a 5, but there is enough that I really liked with John Walker. Love to hate. Let me put that way in some regards. And only that, but there was also enough of Sam Wilson and Bucky being really cool. There's some missteps they take with that here and there. But there's enough of that great bromance I actually really care about. And not only that, but Bucky actually has an interesting through line throughout the entire series, which it's all dealing with his guilt. Yeah, and redemption from him being the Winter Soldier. It's like, that's an interesting storyline. In fact, I was thinking that also might have been, maybe what they were actually going to go through with this thing. But no, we got this pointless villain that doesn't have any connection to either one of them.
I would say if they just made it about John Walker taking up the mantle of Captain America and Bucky trying to talk some sense into Sam, saying like, okay, you shouldn't have given up the shield. Steve gave you that shield for a reason. He believed in you. He wanted you to be the next Captain America.
Yeah, and in fact, it's one of the best lines throughout the entire series. Whenever Sam's like, well, what does it matter to you that I gave up the shield or anything like that? And Bucky puts it perfectly. If Steve was wrong about you, he was wrong about me. That is a damning line, and that's a dick slap from Bucky. He's like, dude, look who you're talking about here. And Sam kind of looks like, oh.
Yeah.
Shit, yeah. So, if you want to also grade on whether you should watch this or not, the stuff where it forwards the Marvel Cinematic Universe is not bad, which unfortunately is mostly just dealing with Zemo. Just those who are wondering, I can tell this is leading to Thunderbolts. It's leading to Zemo. He's going to have to begin leading a group of villains that are going to be led by him. And obviously it's like, okay, that's cool. It's fine with me. We're going to introduce some more villains. Hell, we already have a few. And they already talked about Abomination's supposed to be one of them. And I wouldn't be surprised if they try to get Vulture in on it. And all of that, but that would be kind of cool. I would like that.
Maybe that's why Vulture's in
Morbius.
Yeah.
Maybe, and all of that. Honestly, here's the thing. I don't hate what Sony wants to do. I just wish they'd figure out what the fuck they want to do. Mm-hmm. It's like nail down a concept and follow through. Yeah, and no offense, y'all cannot focus it all on Venom. I love me some Venom. You can't focus 100% just on Venom. No, instead we're going to get whatever the fuck that movie is coming out later this year. Oh. The only funny part I liked was in the entire trailer, or not funny part, but the only part I legitimately did like was whenever Venom threatened to eat Mrs. Chang. I was like, yeah. Alright, damn it, that's funny. But yeah, I would say watch it only for the interactions with Bucky and Falcon and for Zemo, John
And-
Walker.
And for the continuation of the MCU.
Yeah, but anything dealing with Carly, you can fast forward through. You're not going to miss anything. By the time, if you were to fast forward through everything dealing with Carly, with the exception of the end, because if you fast forward that, you're going to be really confused. But if you were to fast forward through all of her attempts at speeches that aren't really good speeches or anything, you're going to know just as much about her as I knew about her by the time you got known, which is zilch. So that's what I got to say about Falcon and Winter Soldier. Such a disappointment. It's arguably it's probably the biggest disappointment that MCU has had since, I would say, Iron Man 3. It's such a letdown of a film. But that's our feelings. We might be back, though, with proper Sunday Fundays soon, though. More with that to follow either tomorrow or next week. I will let y'all know by then. In fact, there's also supposed to be some more inconsistent bookworms for you all. But hey, until then, we will see y'all there, so bye-bye, everybody.